This whole debate about working hours and all, it is contextual to the kind of work you're doing. Of course, I agree that on a perpetual basis, you can't work 70 hours a week. But there may be some periods where you may have to work a little longer. I think successful entrepreneurs, one of the key aspect or one of the key quality of a successful entrepreneur is, I think each person in this world has some God-given gifts, which we call skill sets, strengths, whatever you may call it. But I think all of us have some God-given gifts. Even a disabled person has some God-given gift. That person could be a good singer or whatever. There's a rule, 75% of your energy should go into improving your strengths, 25% on improving your weakness, unless you have some fatal flaws.
How to cultivate a mindset of agility and how to cultivate a strength to say no.
The ability to say no reinforces focus. So now I think in the area of mental health, it's various things one can do. I have done meditation. I wish I could do it more often. If one is disciplined, one can do it. I do it maybe 2-3 times a week. I think sleep plays a very, very important role in recovery, and I
Namaste, Mr. Mariwala. Welcome to the LSM podcast.
Thank you.
We are privileged to have you here, and a lot of our guests want to really uncover the lifestyle of a fit billionaire. So I'm going to try to ask more around that. You've spoken about the fact that your metabolic age and your physical age, there's a gap between that. So I want to explore a little bit about that. Not going to try to keep it very pompous, but really practical, because I know that's the way you deal with your life. So can you talk us a little bit about this metabolic age and the real age and how you keep the gap?
Okay. So first of all, thank you, Harshil, for calling me to this podcast. It's my pleasure to be here. And this is one topic, or this is one subject which is very, very dear to my heart, which is talking of health and health, different types of health, dimensions to health, whether it is mental health, physical health, spiritual health. How do you deal with stress? How do you continue to operate at a peak level is something which I'm very, very passionate about. And I've always been, but actually with increasing age, the passion is increasing more and more, because as you age, then you start seeing, okay, till what time can I go on working? Till what time can I be agile physically? So to me, it's very important that I stay fit, mental, physical, spiritual, all my life, until the last day of my life. Because that illness just scares me. So there is some fear which is driving me in terms of being ill and not being able to do something. And I've seen many individuals who are not proactively taking steps to look at all these aspects of health, not investing time in this, suffering a lot in terms of hospitalization, in terms of mental health, in terms of dementia. And I'm so scared of that happening to me. So that's how I've started dabbling into longevity studies, and I have identified somebody who's helping me in this. So through that, a lot of analysis in terms of different blood tests, and then what requires to be met. So a lot of
So can I just pause there and
yes, sure.
break that down?
Yeah.
Because I have a few questions. There's a big term of longevity studies.
Yes.
So if we can unpack that a little bit, what is longevity study? And in your study of it, what are some of the key things you have uncovered?
So actually, I'm not an expert on longevity study, but based on whatever I've read and know of, it basically, how do you extend life of an individual? Not just extend life, but how can you be productive until the last day? And I've heard some lectures, and the founder of Singularity is one person who was here, and I heard him. I mean, they are talking of living life beyond 100 years in a very fit manner. I am not getting into that kind of a target. All I am saying is, until I'm alive, I should be I should lead the life in the best way.
Right.
And I think a lot can be done on all different fronts, which I'm experimenting.
What are the contributors,
Yes.
the input variables
Yes.
that one puts in to lead the life in the best way?
So I think we'll have to split it into different aspects of health. So if you start with physical health, then we are talking of overall level of fitness, which means exercising, which means if you are, at least I'm a vegetarian, so how do you maintain muscle mass? Because if you don't have muscle mass, it will lead to weakness, which will also mean that balance plays a very important role. So how do you improve your balance and stability?
What's the second aspect?
The second is, I would say, the diet, which is very, very crucial. So I do once a month body composition, which analyzes all these aspects. And I think you try to, I'm not at gold standard level, but I'm at a pretty decent level considering my age. And
so you study body composition through what kind of a test?
So it's a body composition analysis in Kaya. One of our in most Kayas, at least in Bandra, we do that. It's a machine which just takes 1 minute to evaluate and get this done. It breaks down the weight into best in class, and again, the weight is broken down into what is the muscle mass, what is the fat mass. So all that is there, and what is the gold standard? Where do you need to improve? And depending on that, I used to go to a dietitian earlier. They would change the diet. I've improved now a lot, so I don't need to go there. But based on that, also I've gone to an exercise specialist in terms of what kind of exercise I need to do to improve my muscle mass. So to convert that, whatever data you have in terms of the body composition into diet as well as the fitness regime, so that you are achieving that peak, And then on top of that, there are a lot of, based on your tests you do, and most of these are blood tests, and some of them are more than blood tests also. And depending on the deficiencies, you arrive at a schedule of, or what kind of medication you should do. These are not medication, these are more supplements. So whether being a vegetarian, I would be a little low on B12, for example. So I would have to do that. So, and then they say it's good, you need to have 1 teaspoon of coconut oil, virgin coconut oil, for just improving your immunity as well as Cocosol. That's our product. So many of our things which we do is actually whether it's a water therapy or whether it's body composition or this. So I take that also. So I think lead a disciplined life, in short, when it comes to food, when it comes to exercise, plays a very important role.
So you spoke about exercise, you spoke about food.
Yeah.
Then you spoke about mental and spiritual.
So now I think in the area of mental health, it's various things one can do. I have done meditation. I wish I could do it more often. I do it when I have time. I find it difficult to do it when I'm traveling, but I think if one is disciplined, one can do it. I do it maybe 2-3 times a week. So meditation is one. Another is breathing, which is different than medication. So I have an expert in breathing. She comes and teaches me breathing 1 hour. That normally I do, at least try and do it once a week. So I think that breathing exercise also helps.
Is it pranayam oriented?
It's, I think she has her own way of doing it. So different types of breathing, and then, I have a sleep issue. So that also is very, very crucial, I think sleep plays a very, very important role in recovery, and I believe that with aging, a lot of my friends also have sleep issues. So how do you improve your sleep is something very, 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 very important. So for improving sleep, I have some magnesium supplements and things like that.
Organizations can do better for mental health of their employees at the workplace. And what, like, I'll just request you to give some very practical tips, like in the individual part, how you had some very sharp tips in your experience seeing organizations. What's a practical checklist to improve mental health inside the organization? And second is leaders of organizations, whether they are entrepreneurs, whether they are C-suite, even managers. How can they manage their mental health? Because I also see that demands on managers are very high. While people's mental health is deteriorating, often the culprit is the manager. So how does the manager then deal with it? So these two parts.
So I think absolutely right. The culture which is within an organization plays a very, very crucial role in the mental health of all its employees, And organization which has strong values which are good for mental health. So I think starting point for any organization is what are the values you require to succeed in the business. The values, if practiced on a perpetual basis or a regular basis, create a culture. But depending on the kind of organization you are in, culture has to fit in with the strategy. So there will be certain parts of your culture which will be relevant for strategy, but there is a certain universal part in any organization which is required for ensuring that you leverage people's potential to the maximum, and it is done on merits. So values like meritocracy are very, very important. Not influence should not work in an organization. So I think when you finalize the values, the top management should proactively have a very strong belief that these values are very crucial to create the right culture. So what is that apart from meritocracy? What is it required? High degree of openness. If I have something against you, I should be able to tell you rather than bitching behind your back and telling 20 people. And most organizations, this is happening that I will not tell you because we don't have an open culture. So irrespective of the levels, you may be my boss, but the moment you ask me some feedback, for example, please tell me about myself, I'll be a little bit more open to tell you. So create that culture of openness at all levels. Just reduces the negativity within the organization. The third aspect is trust. I should be able to trust you because ultimately, if I'm able to trust you, I will not go on questioning you in whatever you're asking me to do, even as my boss. So I think building that level of trust within the organization plays a very, very important role. So I would say meritocracy, openness, and trust play. And on top of that, we at least make all our leaders go through a leadership training program. What is the right style of leadership? And there are multiple aspects of it. You may have dictatorial style, which we are completely against, because in a dictatorial style, you will have me too guys. People will not question you. You don't want that to happen. People will not be motivated if they are not asked how to perform. So we believe strong in participative leadership style, where leaders should involve others, and we make go run them through a leadership training program. And before we select those leaders, also we determine their leadership style. And if somebody is not participating, somebody starts playing tricks, somebody starts politicking, favoring individuals, it will come out because it's an open culture. So you combine openness, trust, participative leadership style, and then there will be some deviations. But the moment you have all these supporting means of meritocracy, openness, trust, it will get highlighted. That person who's doing that kind of a thing will start feeling uncomfortable, and that person changes or that person leaves automatically.
So, and what about that part of managers and leaders managing themselves against workplace stress?
So I think stress is a part and parcel of today's business environment, depending on the kind of business one is in. One would have to analyze what is urgent, what is important. In certain cases, if there is a project you need to finish within certain time, there will be some stress. This whole debate about working hours and all, it is contextual to the kind of work you're doing. Of course, I agree that on a perpetual basis, you can't work 70 hours a week. But there may be some periods where you may have to work a little longer. And I think more importantly, you should, instead of dictate from the top that you have to work hard, it should come from within. This whole subject of work-life balance completely gets eliminated if you enjoy your work. So I think the challenge to corporate leaders is, can you make each and every person who is working for you enjoy that work? And the moment you enjoy your work, you will stop doing this kind of thing. And in certain case times, I'm not saying all the time, but if the work demands that you spend extra time, you'll do it because you're enjoying. You realize that you're working for an organization which has a purpose, which has a culture, which has strong values. And it's a matter of time. It doesn't happen on a perpetual basis.
So, you spoke about the mental health through which you sustain your mental health through breath work.
Yes.
And through some meditation.
Yes.
And then what about the spiritual health?
So spiritual health is something which is a belief based. What you need to do, what kind of belief you have in terms of leading the right life. So I think it has to get translated into how you're leading your life, which means that you're not doing it for yourself, but you're doing it to make a difference to others. Because yeah, you have to make a difference to others. You're not, and you have to give something back. And it's just not financial giving, but it is financial plus. in terms of giving your time, your energy. So I spend a lot of time in wherever I'm able to add value to others, whether it is mentorship in the area of entrepreneurs or anybody, a young person is struggling to decide what to do in life. So I spend, at least I would have at least 10 to 15 sessions a month. So to me, spiritual is leading the right life, not cheating anybody. I don't go to temples, but I believe the God is within me. I don't need to go to temples. So I hardly go to temples. But I have to do the right things. And I have a very, very deep belief that there is somebody up there who's playing an important role. And I have to be aware of that. And we have to do the right things and help others also. And you can't cheat others. You have to lead a life in a spiritual manner which is actually making a difference to others.
So a lot of the work we are doing actually on the app
Yes.
is so a little bit about our app. We have reached a stage where we have over 1 million people who are using the app,
Yes.
and we have built it for youth of India
Very good.
to maintain their physical health,
Yes.
their spiritual health, and their mental health.
Great.
Still working on some agentic AI to make sure that once people fill in their details, then
Yeah.
how to get them access. And a lot of the young people that we are talking to on the app, they are devouring the stuff related to how to treat my life as a service. A question I have on that is, life as a service, it's very easy to say,
Yes.
but then when we break it down,
Yes.
there might be, oh, I've achieved this.
Yeah.
At your stage, you have achieved pretty much everything there is to achieve.
Yeah.
And when somebody's on the path of achievement, their ego can come in the middle.
Yes.
So how does one navigate the ego? What's the right practical suggestions to navigate the ego? So sorry for the interruption, but 94.3% of you are regular viewers of this podcast and haven't yet hit the subscribe button. Can I please request you to hit subscribe?
So I think you're right that depending at what stage in life you want to make a difference to others, I think it develops over a period of time. And I have realized that once you are reach a certain level of proficiency in your work or achievement level in your whatever you're doing, and then you start searching, what else, I've done that, I've achieved it. Now, I don't need to make more money or I've achieved all that. It's continuing, but I need to do something more. And that's the time you realize what is your purpose in life? Why were you born? And then you tend to shift that, okay, can I make a difference to other? And when you make that shift, of course you continue working. I work also, but in addition to that, I spend a lot of time on this. I think the satisfaction you get in doing this is far, far higher level, and it can continue perpetually until the last day of your life. So to answer your question, the ego should not be, if you're spiritual, you should not be egoist. Just because you achieved something in life, that doesn't mean that you're superior, that you have to act superior. You have to be humble, because a lot of people who are, it is not your own journey. Most of the time, the journey is supported by many others. So don't say that I have to take all the credit. Of course, in individual sports like tennis or whatever, that it's more individual. But in a corporate life, it's the whole team. Everybody is adding value. Of course, you are the top, so you tend to get that kind of extra, shall I say, credit. But you have to realize that it's a teamwork. And the moment you realize it's a teamwork, and many times you may have done something wrong, but somebody else has corrected down the line. I think if I had that ego, then I would not be willing to listen to others. So the fact that you're open to listening to others itself means you have to shed your ego. And once you shed that ego, then you realize at any stage in life, you should not have ego, because ego is the biggest deterrent to learning. If you have that ego and if you tell others that I know it all, people will stop telling you something, even if they know that you're going wrong, because you are not willing to listen to others.
So one more question I have for you is on consistency. You've written about that a fair bit when we go through your book as well, and when one observes your life. One thing that stands out is consistency. Now, consistency is actually not easy.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've had your share of failures with consistency. So, could you reflect on some of those failures with consistency and then talk about what you've learned or what would be your advice on building consistent habits? Like most people will say, look, I will practice my meditation every day,
Yes.
or I will do my breath work every day,
Yes.
or I will regulate my diet.
Yeah.
And I guess, even if you look at the Yoga Sutras, the first is Yam Niyam, then Asan, then Pranayam, then Pratyahar, then Dhyan comes in. So if we had to break that down, the first thing is habits.
Yes.
And it's difficult in today's world because as I walk out, there's a splashy yellow color asking me to eat a burger. And then as I walk out, there's a red, and sometimes they're doing their job.
Yes.
So nothing against it, but the navigation framework is difficult.
Yes.
So how does one tackle that?
So you are absolutely right that there are many temptations which come your way, and in today's world there are so many ways to reach you, whether it's digital means or variety or some innovation or whatever else, which can actually deviate you from your so-called disciplined path and consistent path. So I think it's very important that you are self-disciplined first of all. So you have to many a times, if it's okay once in a while to indulge in some good food, but you can't go on doing it all the time, because then that will reflect in your weight, it will reflect in your fitness. So indulge to some extent. I'm not saying you can be completely robotic about this, but at the same time measure it on a regular basis. And if you have crossed your certain limit of weight, for example, then take corrective action once you're back in terms of your diet. So moment I put on say 1 kilo weight, I'm back to my salad diet, so that I lose that weight, Or I tend to, especially on my holidays also, you have to exercise. So as I mentioned, I exercise every day, and I think exercise is very important. Maybe I'm overdoing it. You need to take some rest, but just ensure that if you exercise, and ultimately when it comes to weight, there is an input output, What are the calories you're burning by exercising? What are the calories you're consuming by eating the food? So I think you need to balance that. The moment that imbalance comes in, then you put on weight.
So I'll switch now a little bit from physical to mindset,
Yes.
which is where you're going with this.
Yes.
I'm curious where to go first because you've already mentioned knowing yourself and you've written about Ikigai, and you, from what I understand, please correct me if I'm wrong, but you are interested in Japanese philosophy.
To some extent, I think or anything spiritual I have read, but I'm not a, shall I say, big follower, or I'm not an expert on the subjects.
Or you would have spent some contemplation on it.
Yeah.
So,
but at one level, most spiritual books are talking the same language. The way you express it is more critical than what actually the message is.
Got it.
Yeah.
So for that, the first question I have on mindset is that related questions. In your life, you've taken the right bets.
Yes.
Of deciding where to spend your time.
Yes.
So let me remove the business jargon out of it, but you decided that, okay, this is worth spending my time. Like you were saying, this is my skill set. I know myself. This is my skill set. So first question is how to know yourself better.
Okay. Yes.
And then once you know yourself, I guess let's go with that, and then
I'll spend some time on that. So absolutely right. I think each person in this world has some God-given gifts, which we call skill sets, strengths, whatever you may call it. But I think all of us have some God-given gifts. Even a disabled person has some God-given gifts. That person could be a good singer or whatever. But many of us don't know what are our God-given gifts, because we don't know ourselves that well. And one exercise which is easy to do, I would suggest, is to have one session with your people who know you. It could be your family, it could be your friends, it could be your colleagues, and just have half an hour, 1 hour, and just talking about what am I good at, what am I not good at also, because you want to look at a balanced picture, And then the other thing is, most of the development programs which happen in a, say, performance appraisal, is to actually treat the negative, which is what am I bad at, what am I not good at, and improvement areas. But if you spend the same time of improving your strengths, it'll have a discontinuous impact on your personality. You'll enjoy that. That's what you're good at. You enjoy doing it. So after determining your strengths, there's a rule: 75% of your energy should go into improving your strengths, 25% on improving your weakness, unless you have some fatal flaws. If you have some fatal flaws, yes, you have to rectify that. Otherwise, you spend most of your energy in improving your strengths. And ideally speaking, your career or your business should be based on your strengths. For example, if I am not good at technology, I can't lead a business which is highly technology dependent. I have to select a business which is suited to my strengths. So I think it's very important that determine your strengths, build your career based on your strengths, and go on taking steps to improve your strengths. And you'll enjoy that much more than going on improving your weakness.
So this is opening two more topics. One is the mindset of agility,
Yes.
and I want to expand on the mindset of
Yes,
agility,
yes.
not the definition of agility, because I
Yeah,
think there's a lot
yeah,
of
yeah.
literature on that. But it's related to the past stuff we spoke about ego. That no, I know this. So agility is actually asking you
Yeah,
to break
yeah,
some
yeah,
of that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
one is on mindset of agility,
Yeah.
and second is mindset of saying no.
Yeah.
Because no is sometimes confrontational.
Yes.
Confrontation sometimes scares people. So I guess I want to touch on both these things, which is how to cultivate a mindset of agility,
Yeah.
and how to cultivate a strength to say no.
Yeah. So I think first of all, on agility, I think the whole corporate world has realized that in COVID, for example, we saw vaccines being developed within a much, much shorter period of time than the normal time frame of 8 to 10 years. It got developed in, say, 2 years. And agility sometimes goes against perfection. So there is always a trade-off. Okay, can I be quicker in terms of my something which I need to do, but I may not be the perfect. And depending on what you are pursuing, I for one believe that always the trade-off is there. You need to answer that question. Okay, I'm 90% ready, but to reach 100%, I may take 1 year. So can I wait for 1 year, or can I take a decision based on what I have 90% ready? In certain situations, for example, if something involves with safety, for example, airline, they can't take a chance because they have to be absolutely perfect in safety. But many times you may not have, when it comes to a new product launch, for example, you may not have all the answers. But if you decide to wait for 1 year, there is a cost of delay. There is competition who will be looking at that particular opportunity, and you'll miss out on an opportunity because they have launched it prior to us. So sometimes it's better to evaluate to what extent perfection is important compared to agility. And agility is very, very crucial, at an individual level. At a leadership level, one has to send the right example, and it could.
So I have a follow up on agility before we come to know.
Yeah.
Because another aspect of agility that people also talk about is uh, kind of an awareness of things around you. Because agility is also the ability to respond to multiple variables.
Yes.
So in your experience, because you have your eye on multiple things.
Yes.
What is the best way to be agile and know all the variables that are impacting you?
No, I think one is to be conscious about what's happening. The whole world is changing so fast, whether it's technology or geopolitical or political appointments. It has huge implications in terms of what's happening. So one has to constantly be aware of what are the factors, as you just saying, multiple factors which may be impacting your decision. So you need to have a little bit of breadth in terms of, especially at senior levels, what is driving that particular subject or that particular decision, and what are the different factors. And one has to analyze it. If it is complex, then it's better to discuss in a group, not at an individual level, but with your colleagues and all. But after evaluating all the factors which are impacting, then you arrive at a decision.
Got it. And so when we come to saying no,
Yes.
and I'll just preface this because we'll go into a section on mental health after
Okay,
this.
okay.
What's happening with mental health is a lot of young people are growing up with challenging
Yeah.
environments where they are growing up with conflict.
Yeah.
That psychologically also it is proven that that makes them more averse to undertake confrontation,
Yes.
and hence people are quote unquote go with the flow.
Yeah.
So I'm very empathetic to understand the challenge.
Yeah.
At the same time, with the challenge existing, how do you learn to say no?
Yes. So I think it's very important. If you look at many entrepreneurs, they are not able to say no. Many times a lot of opportunities may come. I may bring you some other opportunity, and I'm not able to decide, and I will go on pursuing because you come back to me. But I think successful entrepreneurs, one of the key aspect or one of the key quality of a successful entrepreneur is identifying where they should not go. So identification of what you should not do, and then of course how to say no. So there are two different things. I think one is to be absolutely certain that in this area I should not go. And moment that is there, it's easier to convert that into ability to say no. But that should be supported by some rationale, in my opinion. No? But you have to make choices. If you are not able to make choices, then you unnecessarily will be spending a lot of time, which will take you away from focus. Focus to me is very, very important. The ability to say no reinforces focus. What you will do, because focus leads to depth, and depth leads to excellence. You need to fully understand a business or whatever you're doing, and not try and do too many things, which will take you away from depth and focus.
So I'll shift the last
Yes.
segment of our discussion. Thank you for sharing everything that you have so far. I'll shift the last segment of our discussion on the Mariwala Health Initiative.
Yes.
And the MHI, can you just tell us to
Yes.
start off with? I have questions, but I'd love for you to give the audience an overview of, why you did this
Yes.
and what you've been up to.
Sure. So it started off about maybe 10, 12 years back, and I was looking for a certain cause which I wanted to support from a personal side. So you may call it philanthropy, something which I was willing to support financially, and more importantly, be actively involved. So all my giving initiatives, I have a belief that I have to be actively involved. I am against giving just donation to some other hospital or school, because that will not make me actively involved. And other thing which drives me is that whatever I do in the area of philanthropy and business also, I should be a thought leader. So I should actually, I should be passionate about it. I should be able to make a difference, and ultimately I should be giving time, and I should be a thought leader. So I started searching for, again, based on my strengths or based on my passions. So I said, I'm passionate about health. I'm passionate about entrepreneurship. I'm passionate about innovation. Can I do in these 3, 4 areas something which will satisfy me and which will help me in playing an active giving role rather than just giving money. So spent a lot of time in evaluating what I should be doing. So innovation, we do it through Marico Innovation Foundation, which is a part of Marico. On the personal side, I've started 2 things. One is Ascent, which is helping entrepreneurs scale up. So I spend a lot of time on that. And the third is mental health part, which we said that is the most neglected part. And we started about 10 years back, Mariwala Health Initiative. It was based after some degree of insighting. At that time, mental health was nowhere near the horizon or talked about as much as it is being talked about today. But we caught that trend much earlier. And I met some specialists in this. My daughter also was very passionate about this. So within the family, I had a helping hand. And we started off without any plan. It evolved over a period of time. So in most of my giving initiatives, you start with some belief. You try and prototype something will work, something will not work, and depending on what it works, you try and navigate towards a certain scale. So we started with, initially I remember we started with a call line, which we tied up with Tata Institute of Social Sciences, and we're still running that call line, and now it's expanded quite a lot. I think we have 18 or 20 member call line, and anybody can call up. Nobody will know who's called up. It's completely confidential. Uh, I don't even know, but I think the fact that on average they get about 1 lakh calls a month, and then anything calls with it could be, and there are multiple calls, follow-up calls. I believe we have prevented many suicides also through that route, So it started off with that, and then over a period of time it has developed. Now we are supporting something like 50 organizations across India in the area of mental health.
So I saw that, and actually I wanted to ask you,
Yeah.
Your bird's eye view,
Yes.
because you are supporting so many organizations, and you undertook this journey about 10 years back,
Yes.
10 years plus back. If you could paint a bird's eye view to tell your view of the state of mental health in India,
Yeah.
what has evolved over the last few years? Where is there still space?
Yeah.
Where should the fraternity focus? And
Yeah.
what, from an audience perspective, from a general public perspective, what's understood, misunderstood?
Yeah. I think it's a very complex subject. Mental health can be a result of many, many areas. How you're born. Were you born with certain disability? Were you a part of a certain group which finds it difficult to lead in today's world, whether it's LGBTQ or whatever group, the society neglects you. There is a certain stigma attached to that fact. It could be because of relationships, because of career, it could be because of education. So there are so many factors. It could be because of financial issues which impact mental health. But we realized that in urban areas, at least, there were specialists and there were doctors who one could go to. In rural areas, in marginalized communities, there is nobody. So how can you deal with the subject of mental health? Through NGOs who are playing that role, not through medical experts. I mean, these are NGOs are treating some society individuals to play that role in terms of counseling and by training them up. So our work is mainly in marginalized communities, in rural areas which are completely devoid of hilly areas, in tribal areas. And I think the challenge there is much completely neglected. So I think our focus is mainly on those areas and, identifying organizations, helping them scale up. So I spend time with them in terms of if they are facing a certain challenge and how can you help them improve their overall performance. But the whole subject of mental health in the last 10 years got tremendous traction. Everybody realized that the price we are paying is huge in terms of productivity loss, in terms of suicide.
Lack of potential unleashed as a country.
Yeah, absolutely. And then in the last 4 or 5 years, in addition to supporting grant making to other organizations, we have started playing thought leadership. So we have we have a yearly edition of what we have done. And we do specialized studies. And we've done one study in suicide and mental health. What can you do to prevent suicides? We've done climate change and mental health. We've done specialized communities like LGBTQ and how they should be accepted. We've done workplace stress, because many times organizations' culture may be very negative or very corrosive. And people are, because of the fact that some leader at the top is not doing it on merits, it's doing based on influence. Nothing works on influence. Everything is very negative. So how do you overcome that stress? What should leaders be doing to create the right culture? So these are all proactive steps to improve mental health and not ensuring that we treat it as a result, but proactively address those issues.
Thank you so much for your time. And I would like to specifically wish you many congratulations for 35 years of Marico. It was 27th January 1990. So many congratulations and inspiration to all. And I think for me, I got an opportunity to ask you some questions 3 years later, after last time we had a chance to ask you on the Ranveer show. So thank you for the opportunity.
But good, I'm so happy you concentrated on this subject rather than going into my traditional, shall I say, journey of Marico. And this is very unique, your podcast. So I'm very happy that I did this. And I hope that it makes a difference to some other individuals who are watching it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And that's it for today. What a conversation. I really hope you enjoyed it. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any comments, inputs, anything that you feel like we should have asked more of, please make the comments below this community that we can engage with and we can add value to. Looking forward to hear from you and looking forward to see you next time. Till then, enjoy and please do hit the subscribe button if you can. Thank you.